Heavy is the head that has to manage all of this.
Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel.
We're now incentivized to buy what we already buy.
Fumbling through college had me building.
I also got something done on the other side.
And that was right around, I would say, May, maybe, right before renewing the lease for this property.
Welcome to the channel, Martha.
Thank you for having me here.
Oh, I was going to say, I am getting up in their names, I'll tell you what.
Bills paid by other people, life was never this good. I had to step back, knowing that it's...
This is a record-breaking government shutdown. I haven't really talked about politics too much, but we're seeing a shutdown that I think by the time you guys see this video, it's probably still going to be ongoing. I haven't been wrong yet, so by the time this video drops, the government shutdown might still be ongoing. And, you know, there's a lot of people who won't know what's going on or may think they know it all, and I'm not one that knows it all whatsoever. But I do want to make clear that there's people on both sides that are typically at fault, but in this case, I only see one side that is at fault for this. So let me go ahead and break down what exactly is going on so that you have a clear understanding of why the government shutdown is happening and why it will not be resolved as easily as you think it will be unless there's some radical action that takes place. And here's the truth. You see, when Joe Biden was in office, President Joe Biden, again, outside of the war in Ukraine, outside of sending money to Ukraine and his children evading prison sentences, we did not hear about President Joe Biden for 4 years. For 4 good years, I did not hear anything from President Joe Biden outside of the war in Ukraine and his children potentially going to jail. It was not until he was running back up for re-election to be the president of America for a second term that I actually saw his face outside of the war on Ukraine and to stop his children from going to prison. I'm not saying that every president has to be forward-facing or in the media 24/7. Sometimes that can even be detrimental. But what I am saying that it is disrespectful to the American people to have a president that only shows himself when it is time to ask for your vote and does absolutely nothing pertaining to you, the American people. You as a taxpaying citizen, right? So if you're somebody who lays around all day and waits for daddy government to take care of you, whether it's SNAP benefits, whether it's Section 8, whether it's, you know, to have bigger tax credits for your children. I'm not saying it's right, wrong, or indifferent. I'm not someone who simply just judges someone based on their lifestyle. That's not me per se. And if that's you that I just called on, cool. You want that president for those reasons, that's your prerogative. As somebody who is in the middle class, a working middle class citizen who pays taxes into these things that a lot of people should not be on, it is very unfortunate. It is very unfortunate that people want to continue to take advantage of hardworking citizens, their hardworking counterparts, instead of saying, you know what, we can make a productive economy instead of a reduction economy. And it was a slap in the face. It was a slap in the face to see a president that only showed his face to ask for your vote. Said, you're not black if you don't vote for me. And you can look it up if you haven't seen several clips of that already. I believe he was on the Breakfast Club when he said something like that. And again, only showed his face for the war in Ukraine, for his kids, and to ask for your vote once again. All right? Another slap in the face was when the Democratic Party hid the fact that Joe Biden was actually Sleepy Joe. And I'm not saying that because I'm a full-blown blooded Republican and I absolutely love the Republican Party. No. I'm saying that because it was the truth. The man couldn't stay awake. The man couldn't remember what he was saying. Damn near looked like he had dementia, and he probably does, and they don't want to put that out. The man was too old to be in office based on his own physical abilities and his own physical health. Not because of his age, but because of his own physical health. And the American people were not aware of that. We were in danger. If we were to be attacked by drone strikes, missiles, all these things, I can't even comprehend what would have happened with a president that couldn't say, press the red button. Who wouldn't be able to say, press the red button because they're so focused on sleeping. Because they're so focused on themselves and their children than the American public. I can't imagine a party that was okay lying to the American people. Because if you don't tell us what's going on, you're effectively lying to us. Right? And so we are in a record-breaking shutdown more than 35 days after today as I make this video. And another thing that you didn't realize is that they were allowing immigrants into the country illegally for years under that administration. For a lot of you, you'll say, you know what? I know some people, when I worked at Amazon, they say Barack Obama was the greatest president. And they would tell me, probably because of my skin color, they would tell me Barack Obama allowed me to work here in America. He allowed us to get a citizenship if we've been here for more than 5 years. And we just walked up to that office as illegal immigrants, signed a few documents, and we were legally able to work. I said, wow, okay. And guess what? This guy was a hardworking guy. His attitude wasn't there. He didn't really understand the corporate world. And he thought that hard work would get him to the places that he needed to be. Ironically, I thought the same thing of myself. And although I had the mental capacity to see it in someone else, I couldn't see it in myself. I ended up losing my job for that reason. And he probably the same occurred for him. But what I felt in that moment was a lot of respect for an individual who came from nothing, obviously, had to work under the table and was finally able to get a job that every human deserves. Every human deserves to be able to work and have a job. But here's the thing. You still came illegally, right? It's neither here nor there. I'm not judging how you came in, but should it be allowed? No, it shouldn't be allowed. My parents came to this country, but they came the right way. My uncles came through them the right way. You understand? Either way, it was blood relatives that had to come. We still have family members in Africa who cannot come to America today. We still have family members in Africa who do not have the means. In Africa, it costs about $1 million. It costs about $1 million US to come to America without using the lottery system. $1 million US to come to America without using the lottery system. Unless you're in a war-torn country, it is harder for an African to come to America than it is for a Filipino. For a Filipino, I believe it's like 200,000 US to come to America today. So, why is there a disparity? Why does it cost more, about 5 times more for an African than it does for a Filipino? But you can have people just cross the border and be here and pay absolutely nothing for it. They don't pay into the economy. They don't work in the economy. And then you want the taxpayers, the middle class working citizens, to now pay for their health care, to pay for their housing, while veterans are going hungry. Veterans are on the street in the cold. I see those backpacks. I know I used to wear those backpacks that these veterans are carrying, homeless on the street. When I first left the military and I was arguing with some of my family members, I didn't want to go back to New York. the first thing I did was decide whether I was gonna go to my other uncle's property or just sleep on the floor outside. I was used to it. I was used to it because I already knew what it was like to sleep outside because I had to. In the military, you had to sleep outside. You had to sleep in the forest. You had to bundle up in one of those little, what's it called? Those sacks that you put over yourself. No homo, of course. Guys, a homeless person would have no issue sleeping outside. But out of respect, before you put an illegal immigrant into a hotel, why not house your veterans? The people who have served this country would have given their lives for each and every single one of you. You'll go to church and you'll praise Jesus, you'll praise God, and I do too. Look at the cross that I got on me. But you're not going to praise the people that served you and would have died for you. Lost arms, lost legs. I go into the VA all the time. I see people in wheelchairs, decapitated, all the time. All the time. Lost a leg, lost an arm, fit, still in shape, still with a smile. Happy for life. Very, very kind. Grateful for the workers that support them and roll them to where they're going for their checkup. It is absolutely insane that you would have more respect for someone who did the illegal thing than for your own veterans of this country. It's insane to me. So, before I continue, I also want to illustrate that the reason why they're allowing illegal immigrants into the country, at least during their term, was because they wanted more voters. They don't care about actually making America better. They don't care about actually, supporting the country and giving the people what they want. All they care about is funding government workers with free and easy money, funding government programs, SNAP, food stamps, essentially Section 8, all these programs, funding drugs. Yes, they fund drugs so that they can then fund their police department and say that they're working to get crime down, but never do in the last 100 years have they gotten crime down. Not in California, not in New York. They do not ever get crime down. Okay? And then you're going to say, vote for me because I supported you. Vote for me because I gave you guys this, and that. Vote for me because we'll give you free money. All they do is throw money in your faces. That's all they do, and they ask for your vote. Throw money, ask for your vote. The Democrat Party is essentially just bought your vote. Every single year they have bought your vote. And what I've noticed is that the working class that will actually work and pay into this system, they don't want someone to just buy their vote. They have worked. They have earned it. And it's so funny because half the world is okay with that and the other half isn't. So only about 50% want to work and 50% don't. But the problem is that a place like China, that they have to work, where 100% of people have to work, that will beat a country where only there's 1 foot in and 1 foot out. And so what terrifies me is that other countries will obviously surpass the U.S. because you can't have just 50% of people being productive. You cannot have a 50% productive society. A 50% productive society is not going to lead to prosperity for the next 100 years. It's not. And the fact that you can have illegal immigrants raping children, and obviously that's not everyone. Obviously it's not. I would be ashamed of myself if I stated that it was only illegal immigrants raping children. No, absolutely not. Like I said, I worked at Amazon and I had this one guy, don't want to say his name, but just an amazing worker, real hard worker. And, although he came illegally, he wanted to work. Now, if everybody just came here and wanted to work, I would have absolutely no problem with that. But that's not the case. People are here living for free. People are here wanting free assistance, free health care, free coverage, getting pregnant in America and having babies so that they can be legal citizens. You understand? Like, taking advantage of the system itself, taking advantage of America itself, because it was easy. It was the right thing to do. They was creating TikToks saying, have a baby in America, be a millionaire. Just saying, why would you work in Mexico? Why would you work anywhere else? Come here. That was the rhetoric. That was what was being said. That was what I seen with my own eyes. And the Democrats lost me because I definitely voted Democrat a few times, but where they lost me was when they just stopped caring. They stopped caring about your opinion. They stopped caring about what you actually wanted and need. And they only cared about themselves. They only cared about who they had in office to pass bills, legislation, and make more money for themselves. They only cared about pleasing billionaires. That's what Bernie Sanders said. Don't take it from me. Take it from another Democratic representative. Bernie Sanders said that the Democratic Party is only interested in pleasing and appeasing billionaires that are putting money and lining their pockets. That is what came out of a Democrat senator's mouth. So you don't have to listen to me in regards to that. Just listen to Bernie Sanders. And Bernie Sanders was one of the only people that I respected because of his stern way of doing things, soft, smooth approach. He really reminds me of Warren Buffett in many ways, but just with a little bit more of that masculine tone or presence to him. And when I listened to him, it really resonated with me. Bernie Sanders was somebody that I would have actually voted for. But I believe at the time he was only like 13%, and there was someone eking ahead of him at the time, and so I just knew he wasn't going to win that race. And so people have gotten away. The Democrats have really gotten away. They are holding a shutdown now because they want to give migrants free health care. They want $500 billion in spending money for Democratic Party functions. Imagine that. They want $500 billion to be paid for by us, the tax-paying citizens, so that they can advertise themselves. That is insane, guys. Imagine paying for them to fund their campaigns. That is insane. So no longer are they going to wait for us to put money into the ballot box and say, I want to donate to this party. No. They're going to expect $500 billion to be just handed to them. Not by us voting on it, but by them voting on it. $500 billion. When we're already so much in debt. More than $38 trillion in debt. That is insane, guys. Insane. I am absolutely dumbfounded. And yes, I am very well aware that they are trying to get more voters by allowing illegal immigrants into the country, by allowing people to vote via mail instead of in person so that they can just manipulate the vote and throw votes in the mailbox. Listen, if you can put 5 letters in the mailbox and say you're Tim, John, Harry, Kim, and Samantha, then whether they want to vote or not, you have the ability to cast 5 votes as a single person. If you are not physically going up there, showing your ID and saying, hey, I'm voting today, why are we always talking about corruption and manipulation in the voting now? That was not a thing just 20 years ago. You know why? It's because they've made it easier to not have to work for your vote. The Democratic Party is essentially getting rid of your vote. They're saying your vote no longer matters. What you believe in no longer matters. We're going to do what we want because we can. We're going to lie to you. We're going to not give you the benefits that you're entitled to unless you allow us to get more voters and pay for those voters as well. We want free health care for all, and that includes people who are not citizens of this country, and we want you to pay for it. That's essentially what they're saying. Don't fall for words like free health care for all, and don't forget that all includes people who are not paying into the system. Don't forget that our elderly seniors are getting less and less of their benefit each year due to inflation. Yes, that Social Security benefit that only goes up 1 or 2% when inflation is 4%, our seniors are struggling. They're struggling to pay their water. They're struggling to pay their light. They're struggling to pay their gas. They can't repair their houses. They have to rely on their children if they can. I had a woman tell me the other day she's 73 years old, arguing with her daughter. She had to take herself off of her water bill because her daughter might default. And she wants enough money to bury herself. That's her words to me. She wants enough money to bury herself when she dies. I just had to apologize to her and say, I'm so sorry you're going through that. She said it's just because of respect. All because of respect that she's arguing with her daughter today. Does the Democratic Party actually respect you? Ask yourself that question. Do they respect you? Because to me, the answer is no. When you lie about your president being healthy, when you lie about supporting the American people, but you only tax the middle class, when you lie about creating new jobs with free money, it's not free, it's us who's paying for that. When you talk about manufacturing and infrastructure, but you infrastructure nothing. But now we have countries from all around the world shaking hands and promising tens of billions of dollars. And although it's just a promise, that was more than what we had previously. Those are signed contracts now getting into effect. And so I say all that to say, yes, they don't care. They don't care that air traffic controllers are not being paid. They don't care that people are going hungry while they're still lining their pockets. They don't care that the Republicans have voted. Every single last one of them have voted for the shutdown to end. And only 5 Democrats have voted for the shutdown to end. They don't care that the Republicans asked for nothing in this bill. They didn't ask for anything. They didn't ask for anything new than what they had previously. The only demands came from the Democratic Party. And that is why it is not being passed. So if you can't pass a bill that you passed previously, then there's no working with a party that doesn't want to work with you. Like, you didn't ask for anything. It's not like you tried to negotiate. It's not like you tried to ask for something extra. I didn't ask for more cream with my ice cream. Nothing. I asked for absolutely nothing. And you still said no. So yes, they want the American people to starve. They want the American people to starve. They want the pressure on the Republican Party. And it's very unfortunate. It is absolutely unfortunate. If you like this video, make sure you leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what you think. And I will see you on the next one.